Hey, hey guys, it's cool. Doing a different type of video. I don't normally do these kinds of videos where I just talk. I usually get my camera out and talk about shit. But I kind of wanted to talk about a couple things. And I want to get something. I want to get some footage up to show to talk about what I'm describing. Uh, so there's been a lot of talk about DLSS lately. DLSS 1 5 just got announced by NVIDIA, and there's been a lot of shit going on with that. A lot of people talking about AI. And just to get, I really, this video is gonna be shitting on DLSS 5, obviously. But I want to preface this by saying I am not someone who has an issue necessarily with AI. I don't have a problem morally with AI. I don't think it's ethically wrong to use AI. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's environmentally bad. I think the environmental concerns are generally overblown and not that big a deal. But, I get why there's concern a little bit, but also it's not that fucking big a deal. In the grand scheme of things, it's generally, not that fucking big a deal. I'm not something I'm concerned with, and it's not something I don't think there's anything morally wrong with using AI, even in art. I think that it's, it's something that we should just not concern ourselves with too much, and it's been, well, I mean, there's some concern about it, but it's being vastly overblown. The blowback to it is kind of fucking ridiculous. That being said, this DLSS 5 technology is genuinely fucking bad. It looks objectively fucking horrible. On a basic, like, how this visually looks as a, like, as part of a creating a video game visual, it looks bad. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, here's the problem. A lot of this talk and speculate and the PR that's come out from NVIDIA and Digital Foundry, all these people covering it, is about how this is not generative AI, it's content control generative AI, and it's adapting, it's being applied on the geometric level. So, what they're essentially saying is, oh, the geometry and the polygons and the actual, in-game models aren't being changed. What's being changed is a processing effect on the end of it. I think it's a little bit deceptive to say this, because it implies that this is being injected into the rendering pipeline, post, creation. If you imagine, in your head, a 3D object is in a scene in a world, right? When you hear geometrically based, you're imagining this filter, this DLSS 5, is being injected, kind of after the physical objects, the polygons are being rendered, the 3D models being rendered, but before the other visual effects would take place, like the lighting and the environmental effects and camera blur, stuff like that. And I don't think that's true. This is being applied at the end of the rendering pipeline. I think it's pretty objectively obvious that's the case. I don't think this is something that it's being applied to the end. This is being applied right before it gets to the gamer, right? If you imagine, the program starts at the beginning of this, imagine there's a line and the program is at the very end, the program just code, and by the end, right, it's going through the processing, and at the end, it spits the image out to the player. This is obviously being ended at the end of the rendering pipeline, the very end. And what it is very clearly a generative AI filter added on to the end of the rendering pipeline to make things look more realistic. That's what it is. I don't think it's, and the problem with doing this is a couple of things. Number one, generative AI isn't realistic. Objectively speaking, a generative AI, due to the nature of it, is not creating a realistic image. And I actually have an example here I can show you, and that's me. I'm going to show you me, and then I'll show you the game footage. So generative AI is not a realistic image. It is a hyper-realistic, I guess is a good way to put it. It is partially realistic. It is not based on real life. It's based on what about 4 or 5 years worth of AI being produced online thinks real life is, right? And I'll give you a good example. let's go do one of the newest ones. So, a little background, there is someone on, I think it's on Cow, someone has trained at least one AI model to make AI edits of me and AI versions of me online. What I'm going to show you first is a photo of what I look like, just normally. Let's get like a, maybe I'll just turn my camera on, hold up. Let me turn my camera on. There I am. Oh, that's the wrong fucking video. Let's add the right camera on. There we go. That's me. Hello. You can see this is me. This is what I look like. This is my face. I look like this. Now, obviously, I haven't looked like this forever, but this is what I currently look like today. And I'm going to show you what I looked like. I mean, you can see me here in this video. This is what I looked like a couple years ago, right? This is actually probably like fucking 5 years ago now. 5 or 6 years. This is an old video of me. But the AI images were not trained on currently existing images of me. However, I have been saving the AI edits of me because I find them entertaining. And I will show you one here that I think is amusing. And I'm not sure when this one was made. Let me check when this one was made, because I will see when I download this one. This one was downloaded about a year ago. Let's see what's a newer one. Well, fuck it. This one's the one. This is the most current up-to-date one I have. This one was made in March of 2025, so it's about a year out of date. But this was what an AI model created of me. And you can see this is what I look like, and this is what the AI image creates. So, objectively, there are some very distinct differences between what real life looks like and what the AI version of me looks like, right? If you look at the AI version of me, you can clearly see... The first thing you'll notice is that I'm extremely shiny, right? There's a lot of there's exaggerated... some people are saying these new AIs are yassified, but what the main thing is you're seeing is that the contrast is cranked high, like super high, right? And to the point where the contrast like it's like crushing out the blacks on this stuff, right? Crushing out the blacks. But no, for real, like you can see like all of it's way too dark. It's not realistic to what a normal like naturalistic photograph looks like. Right, and this is the problem with the idea that this is realistic, because this isn't like unrealistic, but it doesn't look real, does it? It looks fake. And this is a year-old AI model. I have one from this one's more stylized, but this one was downloaded just the other day. So this is a photo that was made of me, AI photo that someone made of me about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, right? And it looks quite cool. It's based off it's more like an edit of an image of me that exists in real. But you can see, even in this one, if you look at my face, even this one, which is more naturalistic and looks closer to real life, even this photo, the shading is extremely exaggerated and it's very shiny, right? I look very sweaty in this, and it looks glossy is what I would describe it as. In addition, the color palette's also very flat. You know, it is what it is. This just doesn't represent, in my mind, what a real image looks like. Whereas this video footage I captured is a real footage, a camera footage shot on a pretty, it's not shot on a great camera, but it's shot on a decent quality video camera. It's a TV production level camera that we got for this video that I made, right? And it's pretty basic. Like, I forgot the name of the camera. I can look it up and find it for you guys if you want, but essentially it's not like a cheap camera that we used to shoot this with, this fight. So this was, you know, and but the thing also with this, there's no lighting out here. This is like basic natural lighting from the sun, right? And the problem is that what this creates is this is called a naturalistic flat image. This one's obviously more dynamically lit. The problem with NVIDIA's AI fucking DLSS 5 filter is that it's not even as good as that image I made. It is closer in its quality to the March 2025 AI image. So it's about a year out of date, I would say. So that's already a big problem. But also, additionally, in general, AI images and generative AI images have a problem of being too contrast heavy. It's just a problem that they have, which makes them unrealistic. It just is a problem. And I have here the Digital Foundry fucking video, which is what I want to talk about mainly. This Digital Foundry video, because it pissed me off, and I want to talk about it a little bit in depth, I guess. This video, this is the one, I think the most obvious is this Resident Evil fucking one. Like, you can see here, and the most obvious thing that changes is the face, but look at the environment too. Like, really look at the environment, and look what happens to the fucking lighting. It gets fucking crushed, and it's less obvious, I would say, in this one, but we're gonna get to Oblivion Remastered. What it does to Oblivion Remastered is genuinely fucking terrible. Now, look, there it is, right there. See that hyper glossy, like, sweaty look in the face? The weird thing it does to the lips, right? It also gives people big lips. It's another thing, it makes them a big-lipped alligator, right? This is just what generative AI does. But what gets me, okay, another thing I want you to look at. I'm not sure, I haven't looked at this, but it'll be more obvious. Look at this spot right here. See how dynamically lit the DLSS before is? And when we switch it over, when we get it to DLSS 5, it is much less pronounced. You see less of the light and more of the texture of the wall. I'm just gonna, I don't know if I can back up a frame, can I? Whoops, I accidentally opened up conspiracy theory. So here's fucking Richard Ledbetter. So look at this. When you look at the frame here, with the DLSS 5 off, you can see that the backlighting is more dramatic. And look, the contrast and the luminosity of that light goes away. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse on screen, but it's fucking terrible. I'm just gonna fucking zoom in where I need things that's bad. But they actually zoom in on a couple of things in this thing, and it's so obviously, like, destroying the lighting effects of these fucking games. Look at this. The entire thing has been given the... I mean, obviously it's yassified, right? That's the main thing. But every texture has... what's the dynamic lighting in the scene has been crushed and removed, right? Like, look at Leon here. He's front lit. This side of his face, the left side of his face, is more lit than the right side. This is intentionally done to create a lighting scene. Now, he is spot lit from a light source that exists in real life, right? And look, it's gone, right? The shading is almost essentially entirely removed. Now, it's still somewhat lit in this scene. The shading is still somewhat there, but it's worse, especially in these Bethesda games. It's really fucking bad, right? This backdrop, right? Okay, look at here. See how the background of this scene... and Starfield is a fucking bad-looking game, by the way. I just want to make that clear. Starfield is a very ugly-looking game. But if you compare, like, look at the backgrounds here. Besides the obviously changes in the characters, the background on the right is dimly lit and has specular highlights where environmental lights create light. And now, it's like the brightness got turned fucking up by 11. The lighting is just completely removed from the fucking scene. The lighting is gone. There is no more dynamic lighting. Like, look, whereas before, this is fucking obvious. This is so fucking bad. Okay? Look right here. In the frame in before, let me back up a couple seconds. It's fucking impossible to control. I wish I had back control. Look in this scene, right? Look at this square. There's this little... I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can. Look at this little square right here. This little fucking light square. See how it kind of casts a glow on the rest of the objects around it? And it's gone. And it's gone. The lighting is gone. Wow. The lighting has been removed from the fucking scene. The lighting's just gone. The problem with this fucking filter, right, which is what it is. It's an AI filter that it is a quintessentially what this is it's a real-time AI enhanced filter. And then, oh, the DLSS 5. Do you see how the trees are now casting shadows? Right? And yeah, there is some shadows, but like the front of these trees is so brightly lit when it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be you're able to see tree trunks in this scene that you aren't supposed to be able to see. Right? That you wouldn't see in real life. That's what makes this look unrealistic. It's because you should not be seeing this tree trunk right here, right? It should be covered by the trees in front of it. It should be covered by the fact that not only is it far away, but the trees in front of it should cast shadows that prevent you from seeing it. But instead, the whole fucking front of the tree is lit. This Oblivion is the worst example of this. This Oblivion remaster, there is no fucking lighting in this scene. Look at this. In the original fucking version, do you see how their roofs cast shadows on the walls? They're fucking gone. I just can't fucking believe that they thought this was a good idea. Do you see on the right? First of all, we talk about atmosphere. You can see in the window, it creates there's a light that glances off the window. And then when it gets applied, that lighting effect, because of the filter raising the brightness, essentially what it does is it creates fake detail that's not actually there, and then increases the contrast and the brightness at the same time. I'm not sure if you've ever done this to a photograph, but it's kind of like what a shitty beginner thinks what you're supposed to do to make a photo look good, or make something look cinematic, right? And that's another thing. This vain pursuit of realism in games is fucking stupid because people don't want games to look realistic. They don't. They want them to look cinematic. And there's a difference between cinematic and realistic. I'm not sure if anyone's watched that new Narrow video on video game remakes, but it's one of the worst written pieces of shit ever made. Not only is it one of the worst written pieces of shit ever made, but it's also horribly inaccurate about a number of things, including the idea that film technology hasn't advanced from like the advent of color film, which it obviously has. But one of the things that like you learn when you make films or you try and shoot a video is you can't just go out and shoot a fucking video, otherwise it looks flat. Like, look at my fucking footage here of me out in the woods. It's very fucking flat. There's not a lot of contrast. It doesn't look like it doesn't look that good. That's fine, because I just was trying to go for, like, we were live streaming out in the woods. That's a look you can go for. But like, if I was shooting this at night, I'd want to have some light so you can see what the fuck is going on, and that would maybe make some dramatic lighting. Like, lighting is a huge part of photography and filmmaking. And in general, people don't want things that look like real life. They want things that look like some shit they'll see in the movies. And in the movies, it doesn't actually look like real life. It looks like better than real life. And the ways it does that is it makes dynamic lighting. And the problem with this is that while yes, you are getting some enhanced textures, I think what it does to like this light pole is really interesting. But importantly, they actually zoom in on something here. And this is where, like, this is the scene. This is the one that really fucking got me because it's so bad, right? I just can't believe they thought this was a good comparison, and they thought this was like gonna make the tech look good. So the one on the left has DLSS 5 off, and the one on the right has DLSS 5 on. What's the key difference? I want you to look at one thing in particular about this scene. There's a lot of things wrong with this, such as the reflections looking less dramatic, and this like spot highlight. There's like this like little, I'm not sure does it show up. There's this like little glint spotlight like right there on the light pole that's not there in the DLSS 5. And also the color of the lighting that's changed, by the way. The entire color palette, by the way, it makes everything this same blue-gray color palette that you'll see a lot in AI images. And that's, I don't know why, I'm assuming that has to be able to be changed because it doesn't look right. It looks completely different. And that's the problem. This is not a like-for-like upgrade. This is a completely different image on the right than the one on the left. I know that's the thing. The same geometric 3D objects are in there, but this has done so much to change the lighting and has actually removed so many lighting effects that it makes it like a completely different scene. Oh, I'm gonna put on a different. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to find something to put on in the background now. Get some old chat guys from back in the day. This scene in Resident Evil is like the most damning thing. The most damning thing is right here. This fucking tail light. Do you see how this has like a strong luminosity to it, and it kind of like pops? In the right, it's completely dull. Like, this is supposed to pop and be a light. It's supposed to be bright when you look at it. It's supposed to it's supposed to glow off like you're looking in the camera lens, or like you're looking at a light in real life. You can't just like see the light. It looks like a bright spot, right? You can't actually see the physical light because it's too bright, so you can't see the details. And this filter is so strong, it has removed the lighting effect, and also has made the lighting effect on the surrounding scene less noticeable. If you look at this bag, you can still see the remnants of the lighting effect here, but the trash bag here is also casting the red glow of the brake light, or the tail light on this car. Whereas here, only this black trash bag has that red tail light. Whereas here, it's almost like this entire, like, sphere has it. And, like, the back of the car has it. Whereas here, that entire color effect is gone. The entire contrast, that, like, the effect of that light has been lessened because it's been applied through a fucking grease filter to the point where it's essentially non-existent. And we're gonna look at, there's a scene in Oblivion Remaster where they show all this off, where it's really dramatic. I'm not sure if this is just the game developers who are given access to this like tool being like really stupid with it, but I mean, come the fuck on, nigga. Like, really. I think this Leon's photo is probably the best looking version of this. But look at this scene in the Oblivion Remaster. I mean, first of all, it changes the color palette again from a very warm orange base to a cold base. It changes the image from a warm image to a cold image. So that's just completely different. But if you look here, no, I don't want to see this. I want to see the image from the fucking video game, dummy. Okay. Here's DLSS 5 on. And now let's see with it off. What's it look like with it off? Come on. What does it look like with it off? Okay. This is when I saw it, I fucking laughed. So you see, can this even fucking pop up, man? So you see here, there's this line right here where there's a shadow being cast from this tower, and there's a shadow on the front of this tree, right from the light hitting it. It's gone. Like, I get this part is still in shade, but like the dynamic lighting of the scene from like the sun has been removed. It's just fucking gone. Right? This is not real-time lighting. It's like the opposite of ray tracing. They've gone, it's gone completely away. The entire point of having ray traces effects so you can have realistic lighting. Well, now the lighting effects are being removed in favor of this shit. I think Starfield specifically, I mean, this one has the worst case of the AI face, I would say. Let me see if I can. Let's see if I can get up. Like, this is the worst case of the AI face, I think, in this. But you can see, like, the contrast on his face has made him completely shiny. They've increased the white balance way too fucking much. And this was the idea. Look at this character model. It's a horribly ugly character model, but there are lighting effects in this scene that cast like shadows across her face. And in this segment, those lighting effects are again removed. And this, again, he's got a fucking bright front spotlight on him at all times, which you don't want. This one's really, truly bad. Look at this. Look at this fucking footage. What the fuck happened to the fucking shadow that was cast across half this fucking dude's face? What happened to it? You know? Like, I'm sorry, like, if what this effect does is essentially just ignores, this tech isn't ready to ship. I will say this. But it also is clearly coming at a cost of basic lighting effects which we've come to fucking expect from all fucking video games. Like, this is not good looking. This is objectively worse than, like, I can't think of, this is objectively worse than the graphics they're showing before, because there's effects that aren't there. I don't care that the fucking textures are more realistic quality, have these fucking specular shit on their fucking faces, when the basic lighting of the scene, like, the basic thing when you're shooting a fucking anything to make it look good, is having good lighting. This is like, it's so important in anything you're making visual to have proper lighting and things be lit correctly, whether you're making a painting or you're fucking making a Photoshop or you're using an AI to create something. Having the lighting be correct and look naturalistic and look dynamic and react to the objects around it is the most important fucking thing. And again, it's the same thing where the contrast is just blown out. It's not even a good new AI model, it's a fucking old AI model. Now, will this ever be good? I don't fucking know. But this tech that they're selling you, this is snake oil. This is literally just, we're going to put a real-time AI render over this and call it good, bro. We don't actually have to make our graphics cards better this gen, because we're just going to put a real-time AI render over this. I think what it does to Oblivion makes this game look and feel like, how can you look at this elf's face, which looks like, I don't even know what it looks like. It looks like fucking Liam Neeson fused with Gary Oldman. How can you look at this? This character's supposed to be, and this is another thing. In a somewhat realistic game, like, Morrowind's supposed to be somewhat realistic, Morrowind Remaster is, but it has fantasy creatures in this. This elf in the Morrowind Remaster already, I don't think it looks particularly good, but you can clearly tell it's got like a weird skin tone, it's an elf. Now it looks like Keanu Reeves. It looks like Keanu Reeves. It's Jeffrey Epstein. Oh wait, that's Jeffrey Epstein's lower mouth. Oh wait, that's right. Here's the other thing we gotta talk about. If you're using generative AI, the other problem with it is if you're using it to create human faces, and the reason why these all look so fucked up, for that people are so, like, noticing how fucked up this look, and there's something we have to get to later. This is a really key, important point with what I'm trying to say, and I'm sorry if I've rambled or repeated myself a lot, but I just want to go through these examples, because I think it's important. This is the example. The problem with generative AI is this. Look at this guy's face. And look at it like this. What does his face remind you of? He looks kind of normal. What about this woman? What does she remind you of when the AI is on? Who does she look like when the AI is on? When the AI is on, who does she look like? She reminds you of someone. I know who she reminds me of, and I'm going to tell you in a second. But I want to go back to the other guy. That fine black gentleman over there. Let me see, I have to back up so you can see his face again. What does this face remind you of? I don't know what it reminds me of. That's George Floyd. I'm not just being racist. You can see in this image the traces of fucking a billion George Floyd AI edits being applied to this guy. What about this woman? Who does she remind you of? Oh wait, that's Gio Scotti. And the billion white nationalist Gio Scotti edits that have been made. That's just Gio Scotti's face being applied to this character. That's why it changes her race. Right? From being brown to being kind of Italian looking. Because it's Gio Scotti. Now why has it done this? Why is the AI taking characters that aren't supposed to be in this thing and made them here? Well, it all comes back to this image. And this other fucking AI image of me. Okay? These AIs are being trained on other AI generating images, are primarily getting their human faces, not from other pictures of real people, despite there being like a billion images of real people out there to base off of. But they're basing their image off of images like this that have been generated by some guy in fucking Cow in like 20 minutes, who's generated 30 billion AI edits of me on Cow. So what does this mean? Well, it means that there are a couple of faces, and unfortunately mine's one of them, that exist out in the wild that you'll see pop up way more in generative AI. If you like ask it to make a person, it's the Kirkified effect, right? You'll see it a lot when you're looking for fucking Charlie Cook. Like, you'll see like you're trying to make an image and it'll slowly start morphing into Charlie Kirk. Well, if you make a black guy, he's turning into George Floyd, and I guess if you're making a fucking yellow elf, you make him into the Jeffrey Epstein mugshot footage. Let's see if I can find that elf again, because I didn't even click that in my head. But this this is the Jeffrey Epstein fucking mugshot. Because how many edits of the Jeffrey Epstein mugshot are there on AI? How many times has Jeffrey Epstein been added into fucking generative AI images? 1 billion times. So all these generative AI are using the exact same fucking face. That is the Jeffrey Epstein mugshot lower. That is the Jeffrey Epstein mugshot. Fucking bottom out. I'm gonna pull it up. I'll pull up the. I'm gonna switch it over to. Oh, come on, pop up. I don't have to download this fucking image. I don't have to download the Jeffrey Epstein fucking file to my fucking computer, but I guess I have to. I'm sorry, but this is the same fucking. This is it. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Now I know it's not exactly the same. I don't want to be ridiculous, but let's can we stretch this? No, fuck off. If you combine. I'm curious if can I make this transparent? I'm curious if should I make this transparent? Let's do this. Oh, fucking OBS scale's too big for this. That's not what I want. Anyways, So this is the Jeffrey Epstein face, and the problem with this is that there's a couple of faces, because they've been used so many times to make AI memes, that you'll just see their faces over and over and over again. You get the Charlie Kirks, Jeffrey Epstein's. You won't see me as much, but back during like really early fucking AI, before it got like, before OpenAI and the corporate, before the AI shit got really corporate, and like when you were getting the very first early generative AI, you'd see a lot of my face in there. Unfortunately, I would see a lot. That's why a lot of the faces look so fucking gross. Sorry, and and you'll see George Floyd. This is fucking the George Floyd face, and I'm not being ridiculous about this. That looks like that's George Floyd's shiny nose. And this character model kind of doesn't really resemble him that much. Like, the skin tone does not look like George Floyd's skin tone, or his eyes don't, right? But when you put this thing on there, it becomes George Floyd. And there's only so many faces the fucking AI thing can remember, so it picks out a couple that it does a lot, and just does them over and over again. This is the worst one. This looks so fucking washed out. It makes this woman age about 1 billion years. It looks so crushed. And again, I think it actually does an okay job with this scene, but again, a lot of the lighting effects and the atmosphere, and I say atmosphere, but a lot of what the dramatic lighting that comes from like the scene gets removed, and the brightness and contrast just gets cranked. You know, this isn't making the stuff look better. It's just adding a bunch of unexisting detail, fucking the faces up, and then for the backgrounds, it is creating some nice reflection textures, I would say. But it's also increasing the contrast so much and the brightness so much. And the problem with this is, because this is being applied before the lighting effects of the game, because it's being applied at the end of the game, what you're getting is not dynamic advanced lighting effects. What you're getting is the facsimile of lighting effects being applied to an image that doesn't actually truly dynamically react, and it doesn't actually create a contrasting image, right? These lighting effects that you'll see in this DLSS 5 shit don't actually, they're a downgrade, right? You go from having spot highlights, and you look at what ray tracing does, especially, right? What you can do with a really high quality ray traced image. Which a lot of these, because they're running 259 to fucking do these scenes, like the images are like running like max settings with heavy ray tracing. So a lot of this stuff you'll see. But you go from having a big shadow that really casts and creates a big contrast in a scene, to there being no shadow. Or such a limited shadow that it becomes unrecognizable. Like, look at how much darker the scene becomes when the fucking DLSS 5 gets shot off. It's destroying the shadows on these images. And obviously the faces look way worse. The faces just objectively look terrible. And the textures also look quite bad. I think that the textures look too shiny, and they look too glossy. Like, so a lot of the matte textures, or even the textures that have like metallics on them, like something that should be metallic just ends up becoming glossy. And look at this. Look what happens to this cauldron. This cauldron in this scene goes from having a kind of a wrought metal appearance with like it's kind of a matte, like detailed textured metal, and this pot right here has kind of a dark iron look, right? But this pot especially just becomes it looks like it becomes ceramic. And look at the one on the right. The blacks just get raised up so high. The problem is that they increase the contrast a ton, but they also are increasing the brightness to compensate for that. And what that does is just washes everything out and makes it look so bad. This is the worst ones. And I'm in shock and appalled that the guys at Digital Foundry ate this shit up and promoted this. Now, clearly they were paid by NVIDIA to do this. I think that's very obvious by the way they talk. Like, I don't know if they're just stupid and they don't see like the obvious, and maybe part of it could be because we're getting off camera footage, we're not actually getting direct capture for some of this stuff. We're getting like camera shooting a TV, but you can't tell me that these color palette changes, right? And the images look so different because you're losing so much of the lighting effects. The texture quality is not that remarkably different in some of the backgrounds here. I'm just going to say the texture quality, while it is objectively higher resolution, higher fidelity in some ways, of these, is not... What it has done is played a trick. What you think you're looking at is a higher quality texture in the background here, right? Because I think this the applying to faces thing is so obviously bad, they just can get rid of it. I think that they can't pursue this going forward without people like rejecting it completely. I don't think it's gonna go. The face shit will not continue. They will turn off the faces for basically every game because it looks so bad. I'm not saying the face on the left looks that good. I mean, I don't really think the RE engine faces look that great in game. But this one on the right doesn't look good either. It looks like a fucking... It's a hyper glossy, unrealistic AI image. And again, this is something that AI people have to understand, is that because AI agents are being, even the most advanced models are being primarily trained on other AI generated images, it is removing itself further and further away from what reality looks like. Like, none of this looks realistic. Like, this is not realistic looking graphics. This is unrealistic looking. It's bad looking. Okay, I've gone like for 40 minutes about this, so I'm probably gonna wrap this up. But anyways, I'm gonna make, if you want me, fuck Daryl, fuck Digital Foundry. There's a bunch of people on Twitter trying to defend this shit, and the problem is the people who are going after them are these stupid fucking libtard blue sky people who are also saying, shit like, it's terrible for the environment, with the artistic intent. It's like, clearly the artistic intent doesn't matter. What matters is that this is a bad tool. This is a shitty tool. And it creates a very ugly image. It creates an ugly image that is, you know what it's like? It reminds me of when The Last of Us Part 1 Remastered came out, and people were saying how much better it looked in the original, in The Last of Us Remastered on PS4, like the PS5 like remake of Last of Us 1, right? People were saying how good that looked, but the character models in that looked so fucking butt ugly and what's it called? I'm just watching you fucking beat up these guys. This is some good shit. This was maybe the peak of my internet career right here. But no, in The Last of Us Part 1, the character models were so uncanny valley that they were so uncanny valley that they just look like complete trash. And they like changed, they tried to make him look, in Last of Us 2, the character models in that look really bad too, whereas in The Last of Us 1 they look good because they kind of had an artist stylize them to look more like, they kind of look like a little bit anime. They had a little bit of anime styling to them in the fucking Last of Us Part 1, not completely, but they weren't fully realistic. And the problem is, in the vain chasing of realism, you actually completely miss what makes things look like real life. Well, people aren't looking for things to look just like real life, because you can't actually create that in computer simulation, right? I don't even think one day you will. You just can't make it look like real life because everyone's eyes are different, everyone's, like, how you perceive things are different, and also so much of what we think looks like real life is colored by fucking film and photography, and film and photography aren't realistic. They're shot very dynamically, and they're shot using very heavy lights and specific types of lights and specific color grades of lights. You know, like this, what we're looking at here, of me and True Seeker walking into the distance here, see my bald spot. You know, the shadows of the trees are very dark with the sun, right? Whereas in DLSS 5 on, the same shadows of those trees, let's pull this up, I want to see this. The same shadows of those trees, this isn't a tree, they just aren't dark. Like, darkness and light exist, contrast and exists, and it's terrible because, like, the contrast on the textures has been raised so much, but the actual lighting contrast has been completely erased. Not to mention the color grading is completely different. The color grading is just a completely different tone. Like, I'm sorry, this just isn't good looking. I mean, this is good looking, right? But this DLSS 5 to being on, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look good. It isn't making the image more realistic. It's making it worse. Anyways, that's the end of my video. Let me turn my camera back on. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't usually do videos like this, but I just felt really compelled to do that. So, hope everyone has a good night. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Juice!